It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Live from the Sweet and Snack Show. Jeremy Weiss here. We're live from the Sweet and Snack Show with JJ, who is the founder of Cocomel. So first of all, JJ, tell me about the company, but tell me about the origin of the name.
Cocomels. So we make coconut milk caramels.
Love it.
And Cocomels, it conflates coconut and caramels together. So I was trying to keep it simple, trying to keep it catchy, trying to even be slightly descriptive on what we were doing. So that's how I came up with the name Cocomels.
So how did you start the company? This is you've been around for a while.
Been around for a while. I've had a varied past. So I studied science in university. I started off as a scientist, and then I diverged. I became a professor.
What were you doing as a scientist?
I worked at the U.S. Geological Survey. I was doing cartography and GIS and stuff like that. And then I took a left turn, and my hobby became my profession, and I started becoming a touring musician.
Really?
Yep. I toured as a musician for about 8 years, and then
So were you a one-man band? Did you have a band?
I had a band.
Tell me about the band.
The band was this 10-piece mambo band. We were called Cabaret Diosa.
Awesome.
We, drove the equivalent of 3 times around the world. All 50 states, and we, opened up for James Brown and Santana, and we played in Dubai and Cuba and all over the place. And it was a fantastic journey.
So what was your role in the band?
I was the drummer.
Okay.
I was the drummer. And, through that experience, I really became inspired by, creativity and, pushing ourselves to be creative night after night, and B, bringing moments of joy to people. I mean, there's nothing quite as sort of visceral and immediate as being on stage and playing a show and just seeing people light up. And that's really stuck with me. So after that, I decided, it's time to put music back in the hobby category. And I was at this transitional moment, and I had a literal dream one night where I was in this Willy Wonka laboratory, and I was inspired by these candies that I saw there. I woke up the next day, I was like, man, that guy had these great ideas. Wait a second, that was my dream. Those were my ideas. So I know my way around a kitchen. I know my way around the scientific method, and I am inspired by creativity. So I started trying to create new kinds of candies. And
what was it in your dream? Do you remember? Was it specific types of candy, or was it just the overall thought of making candy?
It was the overall thought of making candy, and it was making delicious, better for you, and innovative candies. So those are the 3 things. And so from there, I started, making batches, and it's kind of the classic entrepreneur story on some levels, where I would introduce it to my friends, and they'd say, oh man, this is delicious. And so that'd spur me on to keep developing and making more and more. And then I eventually got approved by the Boulder Farmers Market in Boulder, Colorado. And in April 2010, we officially opened doors, at that point, I officially opened doors, and I was making candies and packaging them during the week. And on the weekends, I was hawking my wares in front of consumers, and just getting great face-to-face interactions with the customers.
So what were the first couple types of candy that you created?
I made a wide variety of candies early on. So I made Cocomels. I also made some unique hard candies where I was incorporating some functional ingredients. So I had a study buddy where it helped with brain power and thinking. I had an energy one. I also made some brittles. I had a sauce. I made a whole bunch of stuff. Through the process of making the products and standing in front of the customers every week, it was kind of like this face-to-face consumer insight study where I was really seeing what consumers were drawn to. And every week, I would sample everything, so I would see what was getting sampled the most and get the face-to-face reactions and see what people were buying. And then I would tweak, the next week I'd try a new flavor and I'd repackage it. I'd change the price point. I'd make it, a smaller pack, a bigger pack. And I just tweaked and tweaked until I sort of honed in where we are today. And I was also, as we started to scale and grow, I started, trimming off the product lines that were less and less effective until we finally just nailed down that Cocomels was the one we were going to focus on.
So what are the most popular ones today?
So we have Cocomels are coconut milk caramels. So it's a caramel made with coconut milk instead of the dairy. And we have basically 3 types of product lines. We have...
Let's show them, yeah.
This is our naked Cocomels. So they're just caramel that's twist wrapped in a wax paper wrapper. And then we came out with chocolate covered Cocomels. So this is, a square of Cocomel that's enrobed in chocolate, and this one has a sprinkle of sea salt on it.
Yeah. So how hard is that to do? I mean, people be like, yeah, you have a naked one, you have a chocolate one, but it's not so easy when you have to have the packaging and then you have the whole nother product that you're melting on top. How hard is it to produce the other line with the chocolate over it?
It's like launching a whole nother product, really. I mean, you need all separate equipment for the chocolate. Like, nothing is the same from making caramel to adding chocolate to it. You need, chocolate is much more temperature sensitive, so all of a sudden you have to worry about, like, how hot is the facility getting? It can't get over 65 degrees because it's going to melt and bloom. So it's definitely a thing. But chocolate and Cocomel taste great together, so it's really worth it. Yeah.
So what about the next transition? So you're at farmers markets. Where can people find you now?
So we started at farmers markets, then we went to direct to retail, then we went direct to small distributors, then large distributors, and now we're in about 4,500 stores nationwide. So we're just launching now. We've been in about 100 Whole Foods stores, but we're about to launch nationally with them in the next couple weeks. We're in about 1,000 Kroger stores. So Kroger owns a ton of different banners. So Ralph's and QFC and King Soopers and a bunch of different, so we're in about 1,000 of those. We're in natural grocers. We're in a lot of independent co-ops and natural food stores. We're in Wegmans. We're in HEB. We just got into Barnes & Noble college bookstores, which is going to be really a fun account for us. So yeah, we're on a steep growth curve, and yeah.
So talk about, obviously, an upward trajectory, but there's always bumps, challenges. What are some of the, challenge stories in the journey?
Oh, man. There are, if there's, I sometimes define entrepreneurship as just showing up to work and solving problems, because there's no straight line from A to B. And certainly this is, I had never done anything like this. I had never been involved.
What's harder than touring around the country, though?
Maybe launching a food brand? I don't know. I apparently don't like the easy way. So it's exciting and it's fun. But, I mean, gosh, we produced our own products for years. And now, we now contract manufacturer. But for the first 6 years, I'm a fairly optimistic guy. But I certainly came to understand Murphy's Law through trying to manage, our own production operation. I mean, I'm not very mechanically inclined, but when our 1920s twist wrap machine would break, I'd be the one pulling out the wrenches and trying to fix the thing. Or, there's just like an endless array of issues. I'm trying to think of any particular war story. They're incessant. There's nothing clean and easy about launching these brands.
So talk about, on the flip side, a proud moment from the journey.
Probably best encapsulated by this shelf behind you here, which has these nice little award trophies.
So what is that?
So this is a Sophie Award. So I don't know if you're familiar with the National Specialty Food Association. So they put on the fancy food shows and whatnot. But this is, the trade association for specialty food. So it's the highest, it's gourmet, high-end food. And when you win a product, when you win an award by these guys, this means you're going up against, not just, any sort of grocery store caramel. These are sort of like the caramel from the guy who went to the pastry school and is part French and dials in his caramel. So winning these awards, with a product that I invented myself and brought into the market, and we get the kudos of having a level of quality that's high enough, that that's what really makes me proud. Awesome. For sure. Yeah.
So where can people check you out online? Where should they go?
Cocomels.com.
Cocomels.com.
Yep.
Thank you so much, JJ. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Live from Sweet and Snack Show.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better.